looking at my wife's car today. It's a Renault Clio with the MediaNav unit in there. We only seem to get audio from the right hand channel all the time. Left hand channel is intermittent, to say the least. Appears to be more with volume control set in rather than going over bumps and things. So I don't think it's any of the wiring as such. I think it's something internal on the unit. So let's get it out. Trim around it just clips off. And then we can see we've got 4 Torx to just remove the unit. The T20 Torx, just 4 of those from the unit removed in the corners, and it should just pull out. So there we go, the unit just pulls out. You can see it's just a single DIN size unit, and we've got all those plugs on the back, so I'll just remove those plugs. So we've got the unit out. You can see that it is, as I say, single DIN. We basically need to get inside that. You can use the car without that in, so if my wife needs to go anywhere, that's absolutely fine, and she can do. We'll take this into the shed, get it on the bench, and take a look. Looking at the front screen on this unit, on both sides, it seems to have these clamps. So I'm going to do both sides carefully and see if I can take off that front unit using the magnetic mat, just to make sure that I keep all the screws together, don't actually lose any. I'm not sure if this is just going to have like one single ribbon behind it. I'm not sure how it connects onto it. We're basically going to be looking inside this unit to see if we can find any dry solder joints, which I suspect is the cause of the issues. Right, let's see if we can carefully spudge that off there. Apparently not. I'll try that and come back. Okay, so we just needed to be a little more forceful with that. Just use a screwdriver to prise those tabs out. And we can see inside the unit we've got a couple of connectors for the front. So these connectors have the little black tabs which flick up, and then these should hopefully just come out of there. Okay, there's one, there's 2, and display is off the front. That's good. And then we can concentrate on what we've got left, looking at the board. If I take that top cover off, let's just get rid of that. Take these 2 off as well. One last one in here. Okay, cover off, and now we can see inside the unit. We can only see the underside, sorry, the top side of the board, when realistically we need to be looking at the underside, specifically on sort of the speaker outputs, which I think is going to be this. So we're looking for dry joints on here. Let's have a closer look. So that's the connector that I'm going to be having a look at first of all. I'm just going to get a magnifying glass on it and we'll take a look. The other thing I want to be particularly close inspecting is the audio amp chip there. So we can take a look at that and see those connectors. Just going to have a close look with a magnifying glass now, I'll come back. Can't really see much from the top, so I'm going to take the board out of the chassis so that we can see the underneath of it as well. The only two screws I need to take out the back are the ones holding the heatsink to the audio chip. These have got some kind of thread locker on them, I think, because it's quite stiff. Okay, there's one. There's the other one. Let's take that screw out of there as well. And back panel removes, so we can see the audio chip there. And I'm going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to actually lift the board from the casing. Okay, so now we have the board and we can also see the underside of the board to have a look for any issues that we might have there. So I'm just going to carefully have a look over it at what I believe could be the failure points. As I say, I suspect a dry joint really on this one. So we've got the audio chip. I'm going to closely inspect all of these and maybe just reflow them as a matter of course with the grounds. And we've got the speaker outputs as well, so maybe we just do the same thing with them. Just going to have a close look over the board and then I'll come back. I've had a close look over the board and I can't see anything untoward really. I'm going to reflow all these connectors and the IC connectors for the audio part of it, and I'm going to do this one as well. So I'm not sure which one sort of does the speakers and things, so I'm just going to reflow all of these connectors by just reflowing all of these and these. I'm going to clean the board up. Just there's nothing that I can see on it that's dirty or not as it should be, but I am just going to give it a quick clean. So I'm going to reflow these, give it a clean up, put it back together, and we'll see if we've made a difference. Just going to put some flux on the areas that we're going to be going near. A bit on there, some on there, some on there, and some on there. Okay, and we'll just go through these. And just reload each one. Bridget, on that one. See one first again. So I've reflowed all those joints now. It doesn't look pretty, but it's functional, and I'm just going to clean the board up and see what it looks like after that. I'm going to reassemble the unit now. I've cleaned off the thermal paste off the back of the IC because we're going to put new on there. Which is the rear, this is the rear. Okay, so we can drop it in to place as it was, and we want 4 board screws first of all. The magnetic mats are pretty good. I've not used it for a while. I've not been able to get to it with all the crap that we've had on the bench, but it does make things easier, and you can obviously put screws in sections for ease of finding later. It's nice to have a clean bench actually. Still got all the parts from one of the first auction that was on the videos. None of those are sold yet, but like I say, someone somewhere needs it like I did once. Couldn't find any, so that's going to be a slow burner. The second auction video, still got washing machines, 2 of, and still got that aircon unit. I know it's the wrong time to sell it, but they've been up for a week or so now with no interest, or a couple of views, so I may need to reduce those. We'll see. Right, so we're ready to put the back on the unit. As I say, I've removed the thermal paste from the here, so I'm just going to put some new thermal paste on it. This is for laptop CPUs really, but it should be fine. Smear it about a little bit so it's even. Put far too much on there, but we'll see how it copes with it when we drop this on. And then get the 2 silver screws so it's clamped up to the chip. Okay, that one's coming through. Just want to keep an eye on that. That one. I can see that one coming through as well. Okay, so back panel back on. I'm just going to continue to put it back together as it came apart. So we've got one screw over here. I'm looking there and making sure that that hasn't made contact, the thermal paste, sorry, onto the connections down here. That all looks okay. So we can put the top back on once the front is on. So I'm going to put the front back on first. It would help on this if this was lifted up a little bit, so let's try and find something to rest it on. Okay, so I've flicked the tab up there, and I need to slide in the blue ribbon. And then press down on the black tab. That one's located. Lift up the tab on this side. And same again, let's get that slid in. And get the tab down. Excellent, so I think they're both on. So if I can slide the tabs over, what's going on with the underneath part of it? Okay. Just seat it underneath, and then we need to get these over. Alright, well, that's that side in. And this side also in. Right, let's get the 4 screws in there. Last thing to do is top cover. Let's get the 4 screws in here. have tried upgrading the firmware on this. There's a load of forums online that say, oh, it's just the firmware, but it wasn't. It made no difference whatsoever. So, well, it's pretty obvious that it's hardware related. So that's the unit back together. We're gonna pop it back in the car and see if we can notice the difference. I'm just going to give this screen a clean first of all. Absolutely full of fingerprints, doesn't matter what you do with them, in no way to keep them clean really. So I'm just going to use a microfiber cloth and some glass cleaner. We'll see how that comes up. I'm not going to use Windowline actually, I'm going to use something that I bought by accident. Bought this from Autodoc, I can't remember what I was looking for, but this arrived. And it does work quite good on computer monitors, so I'm going to try it on this and see how it ends up. I'm going to go with my stash of Temu cloths. Got some microfibers off Temu. Took a month to come, but were quite reasonably priced. I don't think they were more than a couple of quid. Give this a good wipe and see how it ends up. That's actually come up really good, cleaner than when it was new. So LCD display cleaner from K2 works really good. Alright, back in the car, ready to reinstall it. I thought I'd written the code down for this one in the book, but I've not. Just been online, Renault code calculator from the last digits of the serial number, which on this is G737. It gives me a code of 5882, which I've put on there. I'm going to connect all the cables and slide back in. Okay, ignition on, unit's back in place, all the connectors in there. So to enter the code, so the code's gone in, unit's back on. And then we will put the trim back on and see how we go. All back together, we'll see how we go.